Having either worked on VHS or just seen the first movie, is there anything going into this one that you're like, that was really cool, I want to do that this time, or maybe something to do completely differently and avoid?
I mean, for us, like specifically the segment that I directed in this one, I wanted to do something completely opposite what I did in the first one, because the first one, it was like I wanted to do something that felt to me like authentic in a way that I hadn't really seen before, like using like crappy handheld, like just camcorders and stuff like that, and just really play up that aspect. And the sequel is kind of opposite. I wanted to do something that wasn't necessarily like based on any like real technology, and just do something that had more of like a conventional cinematic look that kind of melded with the whole found footage thing. So yeah, I mean that was like going into it like the whole reason I was interested in doing another VHS short was just to try to do something completely different than I did last time.
What'd you shoot yours on?
It was on the Red Epic, and it was a real pain in the ass to shoot too, because I was wearing a body rig that the camera was attached to. So the camera's like right here, and like we tried to center as much as possible. So the whole time I'm filming kind of like this. The camera's right here, and then there's a monitor that comes out, and it's right here, and the whole thing's weighted down in this way, so it's very, like you have to tighten it so much. I have like all these fat folds coming out that I didn't even know I had, so it's very unflattering. Like Simon just stopped taking behind the scenes photos, because he's like,
when you see that.
I was the still photographer on set, but you can't get a photo of your actor because he's wearing this like giant camera and his head is all.
And he looks disgusting and weird. And
it
was really hard because like
summer,
you wouldn't know it from watching the film, but like it was bigger. It was just slightly bigger than or just slightly under like fitting in through a doorway, basically. The size of it, because it had all these rods sticking out and everything.
How big was the lens you had on it?
What's that?
How big was the lens you had on it?
Not big. It was because it was such a wide lens. It was it was pretty small. So that one, it was more just like the width of it. So you'll notice if you really look closely in the film that every time I'm going through a doorway, I kind of like try to make it look like I'm kind of looking around first, but really I'm kind of like sneaking through, and then like so there's like lots of little things like that going on, just to try to like functionally like shoot the movie that hopefully doesn't draw attention to itself.
And we did a couple shots in yours with the GoPro and with the button cam, but that's, I guess, other spoilers.
Is that how you did it for the shots in the mirror?
Yeah, I mean, because basically the shots in the mirror are basically like we do one version of it where there's just little tracking marks on the mirror, and then and we try to time it out. So for instance, the opening shot, like it's all one take. So I get up, I walk over, I pull the thing back, and then there's the tracking marks, and I do the scene from here, and we're recording how long I'm doing the scene in the mirror, like with a stopwatch. And then I finish the rest of the scene, and then we picked out basically the top two takes that we liked, so we knew about how much time I looked in the mirror, and about like what I did, and so then we just reversed that and had the camera set up kind of like sideways so that it was getting as much of an up and down image as possible, and then basically just superimposed that. The timing part was like the most difficult aspect of it, because it had to match up, and I think my VFX guy kind of tweaked it just a little bit, because I think there were about a second or two just like slight differentiations, and somehow I made it work. It's like one of those things.
How's it acting and thinking about all this at the same time?
Well, it was a real pain in the ass, because also like doing like half of that, I had this really uncomfortable contact lens in my eye that was like hard, and like and every time you blink, it kind of like you can feel it, and it feels weird. And I have a weird thing about like my eyeballs anyways, of course,
Is that for something for them to see the thing in the movie?
Yeah, so like whenever I'm actually looking in the mirror shots, so you can actually see, it's basically like a mirrored contact lens, because I didn't want to, because I felt like adding one more element of CGI is a little bit too risky, so I was afraid that like, maybe the mirror shot would work, but if we tried to do something digital with my eye, it might like draw attention to itself, so trying to find something that was like a simple, practical thing that was combined with that, because for me, like I've always been afraid of doing VFX, because I've just never had the confidence to like work with VFX people or anything, and I just wouldn't even know where to start. So for me going into this, I wanted to, try to like suck it up and like, try to do it, because I know that it'll come up later, and it's like the more comfortable I can be with it now, might as well get started, and what better way to do it than on basically a short film,
And now for A Ride in the Park. VFX or no VFX? Because there's like a ton of blood and really long shots. So is that intimidating? Like the thought of maybe having to reset and do it again?
Yeah, I mean, just the actor getting all bloody. But the great thing about it is that the actor's not in the shot, so there's, you know, no matter what happens to you during the scene, as long as your hands, you can clean the hands, you know, you can get away with it. And we didn't have any mirror shots. We had that little window shot at the end, but we didn't have as many mirror shots as they did. But yeah, I mean, actually, it's pretty easy, you know. And also, you know, we did a little bit of stuff with the shotgun. We had a little bit of blood to the zombies getting hit with the shotguns. But yeah, mostly the stuff is practical. But it's a lot easier because your actor's not on camera, so you can get away with a lot more stuff.
But then how is it having an actor not on camera and being the lead in your piece? Because you do a really good job. You see him in the beginning, you see him in the end, and like he takes you through the story.
Yeah, well, it's him. I mean, he you know, like he was a champ, you know, and he never complained. And it is a pain in the ass, man. And you know, and then for an actor, I mean, at least Adam's directing, and you know, that's what he's getting. For this actor, Jay Saunders, you know, that's his role. So he was so into it, and we you know, he knew immediately, look, you're not going to be in this movie very much. You're only going to have 5 or 6 shots. But yeah, he really sold it, and then he came in, did ADR, and just really put everything into it.
And how is it shooting that scene where they come in and stir up that party?
Party.
Like, how did those kids' parents feel about it?
Well, the main girl was my daughter, so I was like,
oh, really?
I could kill her and, you know, I could hit her and stuff. No, but it was just, you know, it was weird because she has a little acting. She does like little plays. And so we invited a lot of we just cast a lot of the kids that with her. So, but you know, the kids love it, and they love doing zombie stuff. So, but yeah, with the parents, you kind of have to be careful. Like, you know, you're not going to do too much gore, and you have to be open with the actors. Like, this is going to be a zombie movie. It's going to be a lot of gore. It's going to be this. But it's a lot easier than my last film, Lovely Molly. We had to convince the parents of this girl that this is a girl who was like, you know, had bad things happen with her father and stuff. So, but you have to be honest with the parents. You know, as a parent myself, like, I don't want to be tricked into, like, you know, letting my kid do something that's not right. But no, it was cool. They had a blast, and you know, even once we were done with them, they wanted to stick around. We had to kind of like actually kick them off the set and stuff afterwards.
Has your daughter seen it?
Yeah, she's seen it. I mean, she tries to be cool and like not be impressed, but she likes it. She likes that she's in it.
Screw you, Dad. This VHS sequel's garbage. I'm going to my room.
She's very careful, like, not to, like, you know, give me any props at all. Like, he's like, you know, it's all right.
It's like my girlfriends when they watch our movies too.
Somebody keep you in
When's
check.
still
Right?
I can't let that ego get out of control.
Yeah. When's Justin Bieber getting?
And now, how is it for you working with kids? Because you do 2 things that I was always told not to do in film school, which is don't work with kids and don't work with dogs.
Yeah.
Jason tricks the kids first off. It's different.
One of the kids, like the main kid, is a kid I also worked with on my ABCs of Death short as well too. So I picked him because he's also one of my best friend's younger brothers. So I could also, you know, be a little bit more rougher with him than I would be with some other kids that I don't know.
You can put him in more danger, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why I cast him solely for that sleeping bag scene, because I knew I could, like, do something intense with him. And he was totally down. His parents were super cool. But a lot of the kids, they never acted before. And so the hard part for me was just trying to make the kids just seem believable and feel real. And when you've got like a bunch of people, you know, on your set, it's hard to kind of like, you know, just get the kids to like just be kids and not think about everything going on. So sometimes we would just like, I would ask the kids like, well, what do you want to do? Like if you guys were like fooling around and doing stuff, what would you do? And then they pitch me ideas, and then we would just like kind of run away from the crew, and then we would go like shoot something on our own, or I'd just give the camera to the kids and let them like do their thing. But
Did they have to do any of the filming too?
Oh yeah, I would put the camera in their hand and let them shoot some stuff as well. But they just loved it. For them, it was kind of like summer camp for like a couple days. They like all got along and became friends, and like it was like kind of like a big sleepover, because we like shot like all over nights, and so kids would be like passing out while we would be shooting other shots with other kids, and I don't know, it was a really fun time with all of them.
Where'd the inspiration for it come from? Did you have like a freaky sleepover experience as a kid?
Well, a lot of it is like from just my childhood of like me and my brothers, my friends terrorizing my older sister. A lot of the moments are like based on actual things that we would do to my sister.
So what were you responsible for then?
Well, there's a total reenactment, like shot for shot, of the scene where the kids like burst into her bedroom and they play the music and they have all those Easter and Christmas decorations and I was throwing them around. I should try and get that for the DVD because it's like exactly the same, other than it's like shot in it's shot in night vision or whatever.
I want to see this.
It's exactly like the way it plays out.
I'm glad I did
Although my
that.
sister got a bit more pissed. Like she actually,
Hit you or
she
something?
grabbed the stereo, she pulled out the cord, she grabbed the CD, and no joke. Like I earned a lot of respect from my sister, and not to fuck with her because of this. She pulled out the CD and then she just crushed it with one hand. She was so mad, it just like broke like in her hand. It was pretty amazing.
I want to see that video.
That part's not on video. I wish that part was, but.
And how about your aliens too? Because I love alien movies, but when they reveal the alien, I'm like, oh, this is lame. So, anything you wanted to avoid?
I guess when I was a kid, I saw Fire in the Sky, and that movie was like the movie that like scarred me the most and made me keep a baseball bat under my bed, and have a light on, and my parents had to have several talks to me that aliens aren't real. And I would have nightmares about them, and I'd always have these nightmares of like, just like I'd be with my friends or my brother and sister, and aliens are attacking the home, and we just have to run. We gotta get out of the house, try to run to a neighbor's house, and they're just like, we'd always just be running. And so I just wanted to kind of capture that feeling that I would have in my nightmares as a kid. And to stay, I didn't want to. Just because, it's low budget and I didn't want to get too close to the aliens because I didn't want to, it to come off like goofy or hokey. For me, it was always like, in my nightmares, it was like they were always just kind of like in the distance, like coming for me. And like and avoiding that close encounter with them.
You've got some awesome freeze frames there. Like I would freeze that and hang it up on my wall. And now can you tell me about the art of the wraparound? What goes through your head when you're writing something like that? Like, is it more about the narrative in itself, or are you thinking, I have to connect all these pieces together?
Well, no, I mean, when Adam and I did the first film, I wrote the wraparound, which Adam directed, but we shot that like way before anyone else shot anything on the first VHS, so we didn't really know what that movie was going to be. And ultimately, you can kind of tell, we designed the wraparound for 3 or 4 segments, and ultimately there were 5. So just this time, we just kind of, we wanted to have a more clear idea of what the feature film was going to be. I mean, it would have been awesome if like we could have made this over like 2 years, and I could have seen everyone in shorts and like figured out how to tonally respond to what they were doing. But more, it was just like, I think the experiment with the first wraparound, like Adam said, was he just wanted to feel like very authentic and real, like a VHS tape. You'd find it like someone's garage sale, and they'd be like, "Whoa, what is this?" And we shot it on like my old VHS camera and stuff. And I think I just wanted the sequel to be more stable and give people like a little breathing space, because I knew everyone was doing things that were kind of crazy, and just give people like a little time to ground them in the reality before we can move on. And ideally, if you have seen the first film, like the mythology is extrapolated upon a little bit, but if you haven't, it doesn't bother you.
Does the name of the titles mean anything? 56 and 40?
Yeah, it's actually it actually chronologically takes place prior to the first film's wraparound. That's why it's 49 and 56. You see the footage of the woman being assaulted in the parking garage, but it actually takes place before they go to the house in the wraparound. So the old man from the wraparound, who's the kid's grandfather, you see the photos on the wall, is still like alive and moving around in this thing because it's a prequel. But you would have to like, I mean, I could explain this all, but all the clues are there, but it's like, yeah, and that's one of them, that it's called tape 49, and the original wraparound was called tape 56. They are happening in chronological order. The collectors are creating them as well as collecting
Have
them.
you already thought of something to expand it for a third?
I don't know if there was a third. I don't know how directly we'd be able to be involved, just honestly because we're so busy now. I mean, I think if there was a third, whoever ended up writing it, if it wasn't me, I would like I would finally explain what's going on in the movie. But that's hypothetical at this stage. But yeah, I mean, there definitely is more to be extrapolated upon, to say the least.